Are you lovable? Are you good enough to be loved? Do you love yourself? Have you ever wished you could love yourself, but you don't know how? I know I've spent my life feeling this way, and I have wanted so desperately to learn how to love myself and to feel what it would feel like that I am good enough. What does good enough mean? I don't know, but I know I never felt good enough. And these are the things I want to share with you and talk with you through Grandma Gail's Tales. Because as Grandma Gail, I want to share with you my experiences in life and how I have learned from those experiences, and how through all those experiences that I share, I hope that some of my experiences will resonate with you. And together we can learn how your life has affected the way that you feel to now, the way you may feel about yourself as an individual, the way you may feel as a mother, as a wife, as a child, as an aunt, whatever your situation is. How can you feel good enough that you can love yourself and also be able to share that love with other people in your life? As Grandma Gail's Tales, this is how I hope to be able to communicate and share my experiences with you. Before I get started, I would like to ask you to, if you enjoy my tales today, if you will like this video, and if you would like to hear more stories like it, if you will subscribe to my channel, and most of all, if you have a best friend, someone you think, oh, my Aunt Mary or my friend Sue, she will really like this video, I hope you'll share with them, because I want to grow this YouTube channel to include people who really would enjoy sharing experiences with each other, and let us learn together. I'm going to start with my first story. I was about 4 years old. I was the youngest in my family, an older brother and an older sister, and they both were in school. So I spent every day home with my mother. And on Fridays, I think it was every Friday, it seemed to me that it was, as a child at least, my father would go to work early in the morning as usual, but before lunchtime, he would come home and pick up my mom and I. And we were dressed in our Sunday best. And we would rush off to get in the car, and I remember happy times. I just remember we were so happy. It was just my mom and my dad and me, and usually those times they let me sit in the front seat between the two of them because we didn't have seat belts back then and there weren't any laws about them, and I got to sit in the front between my mom and dad, and I felt like a princess. I felt so loved. And we would always start our shopping day by going downtown to the Biddings drugstore. Just a little tiny drugstore downtown. You've probably seen Hallmark movies where they have the little drugstore. And of course we had the lunch counter. In the lunch counter area, they had a little booth, and I remember we tucked in. I always went in first, and my mom sat beside me and my father across on the other way. And we always had the blue plate special. And their blue plate specials actually use the blue plate, because that's how what we have a blue plate special today. They started with a blue plate back when I was a kid, and that was a long time ago. Well, anyway, my mom always ordered for me because they had the best Southern cooked food you could imagine. But I couldn't, my tummy wasn't as big as theirs, and I couldn't eat a whole meal. So they'd get an extra plate. They'd bring me like a saucer. And my mom would put a little bit of the food from her plate in my dad's. And I always got the corn muffin that was sweet, and my mom put butter on it, melted that butter for me. It was so good. My mom, she always took the lemons off of the 2 sweet teas. They came with the blue plate special, something like 29 cents a plate, I think, if I remember correctly, but I was 4 years old. Let's keep that in mind. And it was a long time ago. Anyway, my mom would take those 2 lemons and she would squeeze them into her glass of water. And she would stir in the sugar. I just remember her stirring that sugar, and I could just hear it to this day. And I watched her take that first drink of that cool, sweet lemonade that she made from our lemons. We were a happy family, and I felt so loved in those days. My days didn't always feel lovable, but when I was with my mom and dad on Friday shopping day, I truly thought I was loved. I really felt loved. My father would go back to work and leave my mom and I, because we'd go shopping, because back then in this small town, the only shopping was downtown on the square, downtown square around the courthouse. Courthouse isn't there anymore. I wish it were. I wish I could go back and relive those days. But my mom and I would go walking around the square. They had a few specialty shops, the best of my recollection, down the side roads, but mostly we just shopped around the square. I can remember there was a ladies' clothing store. My mom shopped in there often. I think it was Lerner's, but I'm not sure of that. There was a men's clothing store. I know there was a shoe store. There was there was a bank. I know that. There was jewelry stores, just everything you could imagine back then. Oh yeah, there was a 5 and dime. I forget the name of it. It's been too long. Anyway, the Five and Dime, and one time I got to go in there. My mama wouldn't let me be a big girl, and I got to shop in this one aisle all by myself with nobody with me. Yeah, so I thought. But at any rate, I got to pick out a present for my mama for Christmas, and I picked it out all by myself. And not too long ago, before my mom passed away, she gave me what was left of that little whatnot that I bought her that day. Very special memories it was to me. At any rate, my mom and I were shopping, and when we would open the door to one of those stores, because we came every week, and all the sales clerks knew my mom very well, and we'd open the front door and they'd yell out, "Hello, Miss Smallwood." They'd wave to her and she'd smile. She was in her high heel shoes and she was dressed up in her Sunday best, and me too. And I knew that little girls were to be seen and not heard. And I tried my best to be a good little girl because I wanted to be good. It was what my heart wanted, because I just felt so happy at this time, especially in my life. And my mom would do her shopping, and while she stood and talked and shopped, she would always hold my hand. Well, almost always anyway, when she had to take off to try things on. But she'd have me stand in one place when she wasn't holding my hand. And I always did my very best to be good. And I always said, "Yes, ma'am." And if there was a gentleman, I said, "No, sir," because I knew my manners. And I wanted to keep them that way because I wanted my mama to be proud of me. Well, one day we were walking from one store to the other. And I have you know, I decided I was hungry, and I remembered I had a half of that little corn muffin in my pocket, the one that was so good with the melted butter on it. Well, I took it out of my pocket, I unwrapped it with the napkin, and I began nibbling on that little corn muffin, and boy, was it good. And all of a sudden, my mama looked down. She hadn't been holding my hand at that moment, and she said, "Gail Smallwood, I want you to know you're not to do that." And she pulled up my dress, and she'd been spanking my little bottom really good. And I began to cry, and I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I was hungry, and I just wanted to eat my muffin. And my mom said, "People will think that I'm starving you to death. You can't do that." And I made my mama very angry, and I made her very sad. And something I did made people think that she wasn't a good mama. And I didn't want people to think my mama wasn't good, because she was a good mama. She was my mama, and I was proud of her. So anyway, those were very good special days. And we can roll forward now a couple of years, and I had started school now, and my mom had changed her grocery shopping day to Saturday mornings. And on Saturday morning, my mama went out shopping, and my daddy watched the kids. And my mommy come in that day, and when she put away groceries, she had a big bowl of apples, big shiny red apples. And I came in the house and, "Oh, Mama, I'm hungry. Can I have an apple?" She said, "Gail, you do not want an apple. You're not hungry." "Yes, I do, Mom. I'm starving. Please let me have an apple." You know how kids go, right? Well, anyway, my mom gave in and let me have the apple. So I sat down at the kitchen nook, and after she washed the apple really good and put it on a napkin, she gave it to me. And I ate that apple, and it was as good as I thought it was going to be. And I ate it all gone, at least I thought it was anyway. And I wrapped it up, and I put it in the napkin. I put it back in the trash, and out in the trash, and I went back outside. And I was playing and having a good time when I heard, "Gail, come here right now." Oh no, I knew from that tone of voice that I'd done something wrong. I didn't know what I'd done wrong, but I knew I was in big trouble. So I came to the door, and I said, "Yes, Mama." And she said, "I told you you didn't want an apple. You didn't eat your apple." I said, "Yes, Mom, I did eat my apple. I even put it in the trash." She said, "Yes, you put it in the trash, but you didn't eat it." I said, "Mom, I did eat it." And she said, "No, you didn't." And she laid it out. She said, "You only ate the skin off of it." Well, that's the way I guess I thought you ate an apple. But at any rate, she was very angry with me, and she told me to go to my bedroom and lay over my bed while she went and got the bolo paddle. And if you want to know what a bolo paddle is, I will explain it. But it's not a real pretty happy story, but it does have quite the story. And I'd be glad to share it with you. If you want to know, just write down in the comments to tell you what a bolo paddle is. While you're writing down those comments, let me tell you too. Let me know something you'd like to hear about, stories you'd like to hear, and I will tell all kinds of good stories for you. Anyway, moving forward here. My mama told me to go to my bedroom and lay over my bed and wait for me to be paddled. And she went and got the bolo paddle, and she came back and she spanked my little behind with that bolo paddle. And I hoped that was going to be enough punishment so I could learn not to ever question my mama. And if she said I wasn't hungry, I knew she was right. But when she got through with that spanking, she told me I was grounded for 2 weeks. And outside was my safe place. I didn't get in trouble outside because I knew what I could do, and I was played by myself. I played very pretty by myself. I made cakes and things like that with the dirt and the water. But inside, I was always getting in trouble, it seemed, because I never could be good enough. I could never be good enough to make my mama happy. So anyway, life went on. I grew up and got married. There's lots of stories in there I get to share with you. But I did get married 3 days after I graduated from high school back in 1968. I learned a lot of lessons. I've had lots of experiences. I had 3 children, 2 husbands. I'm a widow now. And as much as I enjoyed my life, I had lots of challenges. You can see by my hat, I've had cancer, struggled with that, but I'm always determined. If life gives me lemons, I make lemonade just like my mama did. And so I made my lemonade. And I've learned lots of lessons, but only recently have I learned that I am good enough and that I am lovable. And nobody can tell me or make me think I'm not lovable anymore, because I am lovable. I am good enough and I am lovable. And this is where Grandma Gail's Tales developed, because I want to share my experiences with you. I want to share with you how I came to think that I wasn't good enough and that I wasn't worth loving and that it wasn't right, or it was selfish or self-conceited to love myself. I want to share these lessons and experiences with you. Let us compare our stories so that we can see how you came to think the same way, because often our stories have so much in common. I want to share with you, and I want you to join with me in Grandma Gail's Tales, and let's us share these experiences and learn together so you can, with me, can say, I am good enough and I am lovable. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye, you hear?